Today's Friday. I meant to live stream yesterday, but I fell asleep at 5 p.m. and woke up at 10 p.m. Didn't make it. Then I was up for like 3 hours and then fell back asleep till like 5 a.m. Like no, at 4 a.m. or something like that. I really meant to live stream last night and just fell asleep. I was just done. The reason why I think I fell asleep is because like when I was sick with my son, that sickness literally forced you awake like 2 or 3 times at least every night for like a week and a half straight, just coughing. And then I was with him. You know what I mean? So like my head is on a swivel with a 3 year old, and you just got to wake up at all. And he doesn't take naps. He's been out of naps for a long time now. So I can't remember the last time he did take a nap. Now that I think about it. Let me check my sound. Let me make sure. Now this isn't Streamlabs. This is Apple. Sometimes the sound input. Yeah, see, it's all the way down the bottom again. I don't know why it does that. That's not now. That's not. I won't blame Streamlabs for that. That's not Streamlabs. That is Apple. The input volume, for some reason, just gets reset all the way back down. I don't know. I keep putting it back up, and I don't know how to like make it. That's the thing about Mac is like everything is like smooth and fluid until it absolutely isn't, and then you have no idea how to even approach fixing it. That's the bad part about Apple is like it'll be like super simple and super easy, and you'll know where everything is and how to do everything until you absolutely have no fuck. It's either severely optimized or it's absolutely not. Like there's no like kind of figuring this shit out. But yeah. So I think all that lack of sleep finally caught up, and I was like out from like 5 yesterday. I really wanted to live stream. I really wanted to live stream like Tuesday and Wednesday, but I had other stuff going on, so I just couldn't. So I really wanted to do yesterday. Because today's Friday, and I rarely live stream on Friday. But I was watching this clip it was on YouTube, which I try to stay off of like social media unless I'm like extremely bored or I'm taking a dump. And I stumbled on this clip with Anne Hathaway. Now, I think Anne Hathaway is a great actress. I'm not making fun of Anne Hathaway. I'm a fan of Anne Hathaway. I think she's a great actress in her own way. For her, she has her own thing. You can't, and nobody can really replace her once she does something. But there was a scene where she was playing this. I don't know what it was, but she was sitting at this like dinner coffee table with this woman, and she wanted to be the woman's friend, but and she was sitting there like crying, going, "I'm bipolar, and I'm a bad friend," and she's like fucked up. And when I seen that scene, my first thought was, she's a piece of shit. Not like as an individual, not Anne Hathaway, but the character she was playing was a piece of shit. Right. The reason why I said that is anybody who's gonna come into your life on this whole like they're coming to you in modes of panic all the time and all this shit like that. Like those like 9.9 times out of time, 9.9 times out of 10, that person is a 100% piece of shit. The reason why I say that is if someone had come to Anne Hathaway's character and been like, "I'm bipolar," Anne Hathaway would throw her in the fucking trash. All right, let me see if I can find that clip. Let me see if I can find it. It's like Anne Hathaway but there it was right there. She was like crying. It's probably gonna get me taken down or some shit. Or not taken down, but yeah, because it's got a lot of views. And she's like sitting there crying and shit. Because I'm gonna take it a step deeper. I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna be like is temporarily, because they used to temporarily take you down if you did this shit to block the scene. This is like this.
Your supermarket boy? How's that going, by the way?
That didn't take.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You really get through them, don't you?
I guess it looks like that.
Well, I guess you're only young once.
I'm bipolar.
Really?
Yes. I have been since I was 15.
How come you never told me?
Well, who wants to hire someone with a mental illness and entertainment law? Aren't we crazy enough? Sorry.
So why are you telling me now?
Because you're more than work. And you should know what you're dealing with if we're gonna see each other outside of the office, which I would like. But I have incredibly low periods. So low that I can barely move. I am impossible to be around. I can barely answer the phone. I'm totally unreliable as a friend. In fact, in some ways, I'm probably the worst friend you could ever have. Don't check a single box.
I have a meeting 5 minutes ago.
And I'm gonna go in on like 2 different levels of why Anne Hathaway's character is a piece of shit. I don't even got to see the rest of the movie. I don't care. I can tell you, just by where society is now with mental health, Anne Hathaway's character is a 100% piece of shit. But I'm gonna let it play a little bit longer.
Okay.
Phyllis, hey, those guys from admin in my office, tell them we have to cancel today. I'll see them tomorrow. Yeah, and I'll tell them I'm really sorry. You want to get lunch?
Mm-hmm.
Get a menu. So where are you right now, mood-wise?
I'm coming off of a low. Tonight I'll be pretty manic. You're the first person I've ever told about this.
How does it feel telling me?
Like an elephant's taken one of its feet off my chest.
I'm so glad you've told me. It explains so much. If anything, not knowing made it a little difficult to connect with you fully, the way I would have wanted.
See, at first glance, this is sad. But again, I'm going to go into why she's a piece of shit.
So you want to get a drink sometime? You want to go to the movies? You want to see people?
All of the above. You are the most fun I've ever been around. I'm not letting that go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's amazing what trusting one true friend in your life can do.
Now, the reason why I say Anne Hathaway's character is a piece of shit. I don't even got to see the rest of the movie. I mean, there's a chance that I'm sure there's going to be more to the story, but I don't have to see the rest of the movie. The reason why I say her character is a piece of shit, and I'll say I'm 98% certain, is because the 90s normalized people being pieces of shit. People, even including myself, I even blamed modern feminism. I wouldn't say I thought about this morning. I don't think modern feminism was 100% the culprit. I think I think the number one culprit and feminism piggybacked off of it piggybacked off of Steve Urkel's, Zach Morris's, you know what I mean? It piggybacked off of main characters in sitcoms. that normalized being a piece of shit. All right, from two different extremes. So I'll go on Zach Morris, and then I'll go in on Steve Urkel. Right, Steve Urkel's really worse in my opinion. In my opinion, I think Steve Urkel is really just a terrible human for real. Like, I mean, I do admire Steve Urkel for like knowing that even though he was awkward and clumsy and all that, he could still find ways to be happy with himself. That's admirable. But when it comes to like interpersonal communications, like Steve Urkel was really a awful person. He was really an awful, terrible human being. Uh, and again, I think the 90s was the catalyst. The 90s was the unknown, unspoken catalyst that started the normalization of people being a piece of shit and framing it as love. You know what I mean? I mean, either cool or so. Let's start with Zach Morris. So for those of you who may be too young, or maybe you just didn't watch this shit, Zach Morris was the main character on Saved by the Bell, right? Saved by the Bell was this sitcom about high school kids, and Zach was the cool main character, you know, and everybody else was just kind of they were just side characters, right? And Zach would always manipulate somebody to get what he wanted, and he didn't care who got hurt along the way, if he had to embarrass people, all that shit. But you didn't even look at it like that because he was cool. You know what I mean? And it was kind of funny. And Zach was walking around being a piece of shit, right? Now, Zach Morris's character, he was a horrible person, but I think Steve Urkel really was. Steve Urkel at the core, I think, was the catalyst in modern day this shit, right? So I'll explain. So the reason why I think Steve Urkel is like 100% awful. Really think about the context of Steve Urkel, right? Every goddamn day he would come over, like, "Heinley Howman, neighbor." You know what I mean? And he knows Carl is tired of him. He don't care. Every day. "Heinley Howman, neighbor," and break shit. And knows Carl is sitting over there, and you know, Steve Urkel did not care if Carl Winslow had a heart attack over him, a stroke over him. He didn't. Steve Urkel genuinely did not care about Carl Winslow as an individual human, or the Winslows in general. He didn't care. He was a horrible human being. He knew. And okay, what really makes Steve Urkel a horrible, absolutely terrible human being is he would guilt trip Linda. What's the girl's name? Was it Linda? What the fuck was Laura Winslow? Steve Urkel had a crush on Laura, right? Which, okay, I get that. And I get all this and all that, right? And she knew that he liked them, and she never liked him back, but she just dealt with him because he continuously came over all the time, right? But then he would guilt trip Laura and well, it's because I love you. Like, she doesn't like him, right? So it normalized. It normalized. Steve Urkel single-handedly normalized like 5 different mental illnesses in one. On a weekly basis for literally 15 minutes of his airtime, right? Because commercials and all that shit, right? This motherfucker single-handedly normalized mental illness in multiple different ways, right? Through manipulation, guilt, self-esteem. He manipulated the hell out of society and made it completely normal to be not arrogant. What's the word? A stubborn. I guess we could sum it all up by being I can't think of the other thing I'm trying to think of, but stubborn. Stubborn is the first word I'm thinking of. He did not care anything about how other people genuinely felt, how they felt about him. He knew they didn't like him, and he just kept coming over every day. It got to a point where Carl Winslow legit had to come up with a jingle to deal with his stress to mitigate Steve Urkel's existence. And Steve still didn't care. He still kept coming over. Steve Urkel, Jaleel White, if you watch this, your character was a horrible human being, okay? That motherfucker, Steve Urkel should have known, okay, look, they don't like me. Maybe if I can genuinely talk to them and try to meet in the middle if I'm just that lonely or something. But no, Steve Urkel just didn't care. He didn't, Jesus Christ. Like I said, Laura didn't like him, so now he kept coming over there and just and will emotionally manipulate the fuck out of Laura. Like at that point, you can't even be mad at Laura. You can't. Okay, it gets to a point. If you watch Family Matters, it gets to a point where okay, you can't even be mad at Laura for treating him like that because she's made it perfectly clear that she doesn't like him. Okay, for whatever reason, right? Right? She doesn't like him, and what does he do? Keep coming over there and keep trying to wear her down until he can emotionally manipulate her to feel sorry for him. And it's pathetic. And this shit, R&B music and Steve Urkel conditioned literally the entire... Between R&B and Steve Urkel, those two literally single-handedly normalized the entire country to be fucking pathetic. Right? It's sad. Now, really think about Carl Winslow's perspective, right? He's just a dude with a family trying to raise some kids and be a police officer. That's all he's trying to do. And come home, watch a game, eat some popcorn, fuck Harriet, whatever. That's all he was trying to do. Right now, because I'm 40 now, so I can see that in him. That's all he was trying to do. Now he's got to deal with Steve Urkel. He's got to deal with Waldo, Geraldo, Faldo, which I liked Waldo better for real because I thought Waldo was really more funny. I thought Waldo was better for real. The guy just played that role perfectly. I don't know his real name, but I really think his character was better in my opinion. But so the reality of what happens in that dynamic is not love. There is no love from Steve to Laura. There's no love between Steve to Carl Winslow. There's no love between Waldo to Carl. The reality of what happens is Steve and Waldo Waldo's not really that bad, but Steve Urkel was horrible, right? Steve genuinely did not care about the well-being of anybody around him. He didn't care. Right? Steve's only drive in life was to manipulate people into loving him, which, I mean, okay, to be fair, his parents did leave him. So guys, like nobody liked him at all. So, I mean, we could spin that sympathy role, but in the core of it, Steve's main drive was to come over there was to try to manipulate people into liking him, right? He's a horrible person. So then what would happen is he would end up fucking up so bad where you'd feel sorry for him. Right. And now it's that sympathy thing to loop you back into his manipulation tactics. Right. Right. So in reality, Carl Winslow was severely emotionally. The Winslows in general were victims of Steve Urkel's severe emotional manipulation. OK, because like Steve literally offered very little. Okay, like not even worth it. Like Steve offered them very little in exchange. And it became it grew to a point to where the Winslows had over time become so emotionally manipulated by Steve that they now have to drag themselves down and deal and try not to hurt Steve because they're just emotionally manipulated victims of Steve Urkel. Right? Now, where I say that fucked up the entire country in multiple ways. Right? One, it taught men that if you just keep chasing a woman, she should love you. One. I mean, and it really doubled down on that. And two, it normalized Anne Hathaway's character in this shit. It normalized. It normalized. I'm a fuck up, but you have to love me because I want to because I need somebody to use for my own selfish gains. That's all. That's all Anne Hathaway's character is doing. Okay, because back to this scene. Like I said, let's use Steve Urkel. If Steve Urkel was just chilling at home working on his experiments, right? Now, hear me out. This is the perfect scenario. The why I think Steve Urkel was a piece of shit, right? In this context, if Steve Urkel was seriously at home working on his experiments, right? And he was genuinely working on the Urkelbot or some shit like that, or the Stefan Elixir and all that shit, and he was like super serious in it, and he was like, shh. Not while I'm pouring, and all that shit like that, and then you know, I don't know, Alex Murphy came in and just started destroying shit on accident. Do you think Steve would be that patient with Alex Murphy? And then he looked up and like, did I do that? Steve would he would treat them the same way. Steve Urkel's a piece of fucking shit. All right, he was a manipulator, man. That's what the fuck. Now back to Anne Hathaway's character. Like I said, now she can sit there and be like, I'm bipolar, I'm this and that, and then the woman, she calls and cancels a meeting for Anne Hathaway, right? Now, yeah, it looks cute for 3 minutes, but the reality of that dynamic is going to be the black woman in this video is going to end up. She's going to end up derailing her life for Anne Hathaway. Her life will be ruined for Anne Hathaway's character because it's going to be strictly, but I want a friend and you're supposed to love me. And that's what it's going to, that is not friendship. That is not love. That is manipulation, dude. Okay. The only time where that can become love and manipulation is if Steve Urkel or Anne Hathaway's character, right? I think Steve Urkel was the start of normalizing being fucked up and manipulating that and disguising being fucked up into emotional sabotage love. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So the only way it could turn into love from this, it could turn into love. But see, typically characters like Anne Hathaway and Steve Urkel, they're not looking for love. They're looking for control. Okay. If Steve Urkel was looking for love, if he was genuinely looking for love, he would genuinely talk and try to compromise and try to work on himself to genuinely offer and contribute something to the other person of real value outside of his distortion of love. So like I said, back to Steve Urkel. Steve was not looking for love. Steve was not looking for companionship. He was not truly looking for companionship, love, or relationship. Steve Urkel was searching for control. Okay. Like I said, look at Steve Urkel's entire run on the show from start to end, right? Now, like I said, like the example I gave for anybody who may just be tuning in. Now, again, I'm going to repeat this, but to further back up my claim, my statement is, let's say if Steve Urkel was somewhere doing something he really wanted to do, and then somebody else came in there and was Steve Urkel to him, how would Steve Urkel react? If Steve Urkel was seriously into whatever he was doing, and somebody else came in there and destroyed all his shit that he loved and valued and all that. It's like if Carl Winslow had come over there. Well, you even seen that episode where Carl Winslow literally turned into Steve Urkel. And Steve had turned into Stefan, and he ain't want nothing to do with Carl. Steve Urkel was fucking terrible, man. Steve Urkel is the worst human on the planet. Right? That motherfucker's awful. Y'all remember that episode where Carl had turned into Steve and he because he went in the little he went in that porta potty where he would turn where usually Steve would turn to Stefan, but Carl turned into Steve Urkel on accident. I think they were trying to make him like somebody else, but they fucked it up. And let's look that up real fast. That episode where Carl turns into Steve. He was a horrible human. Here it is right here. And that's right. Myra wanted Steve Urkel back. That's what it was. And Carl turned into they got the juice mixed up. So I hope this doesn't get blocked. I'm gonna read that in a minute, man. Thanks for the donation. I'm gonna read that in a second. But I'm gonna play this. And watch how Steve treats another Steve. He don't want him around.
It's my pleasure, my man. But I gotta warn you, though. This will do more than improve your eyesight. This is a cool chamber. Hey.
Yeah, so for those of you who may be too young to know, the dude on the left, that's the dude who plays Steve Urkel. And he would drink this juice or get in this machine to make him cool. And Laura really liked him when he was cool. Laura likes him when he's, Stefan or Kel, not Steve Urkel. And yeah.
Chill, baby. I'm already cool.
I rewired your chamber, and instead of cool, it said on nerd.
Now, real quick, Myra was the only one who really liked him. She was just a little too strong. But Myra was the only one on that show who genuinely liked, that I know that I can think of right now. She was the only one who was genuinely into Steve Urkel. She didn't have to be manipulated like Laura did. She didn't have to be stalked or anything. Steve should have just, okay, Myra was a little crazy. I'll give Steve that. She was a little crazy. She had like wallpaper of his face up in her bathroom and shit. It was creepy at that point. If Myra was a little too strong. But for real, Myra was the only one who genuinely liked Steve Urkel.
Carl? Is that you? I sure hope so, because I'm wearing his underwear. I gave myself a wedgie.
Now, if Steve Urkel was a decent human, what would be the problem? It shouldn't be a problem. If Steve Urkel was a decent human, there shouldn't be a problem with that. Right? Because that's you. And see, like I said, this is the other area that I think Steve Urkel subconsciously fucked up the world too. It's like, okay, would you date yourself? Would you like yourself first? Like, look at who you are and what you are, right? Look at what you have to offer the world, this and that. Would you like you? And if it's a no, then then don't look for other people yet. If you're not happy with yourself first. You see what I'm saying? Steve was, that dude, he was horrible on different, but real quick, before I keep going, I want to talk, because I've been wanting to talk about this for years and I keep forgetting. This is a cold-blooded scene that I think flew under a lot of people's radar if you were in the Power Rangers. There was a scene where the White Ranger, this is when he first became the White Ranger, right? When Tommy first became, and this is in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, this is old. So the older people would know. If you watch Power Rangers, I don't know. But there's a scene where Tommy, he had this sword called Saba, right? And the sword would talk. It was a little lion head on the end of the sword. He would talk to it. And and he had just got the White Tiger Zord out, right? This is the first time you ever seen the White Tiger Zord. That shit was hot. I'm not even gonna lie, that was hot. And so Tommy jumps on the White Tiger Zord, and they're like running, but he doesn't know how to control the Tiger Zord, and he fell off of it, right? And then Tommy looks dead at Saba in the TV and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I never had a partner before." Now, for those of you who watch Power Rangers, this motherfucker was the Green Ranger for a good season and a half. He had 5 other partners for 30-something episodes, and he looked dead at Saba on live television and said, "I've never had a..." That's how cold-blooded Tommy was. And I've been meaning to bring it up for a while now. Ranger, it was when he looked dead at Saba, and motherfuckers, and that shit flew under people's radar. And every now and then I go back and watch it and think to myself, Tommy was a cold-blooded motherfucker to say something like that. Should be, maybe this is the same.
Activate the Tiger Zord.
That shit was hot when it came out. It's hot now to me.
All right, there he is. All right, Saba, let's start all over. White Tiger Zord. Tiger mode. Battle ready now.
He's gonna hit it. I don't know if it's gonna go that long.
Sorry, I never had a partner before. We'll get it together.
There it is right there. Oh, I got it. I remembered it wrong. Okay, there it is. You guys, hold on.
Sorry, I never had a partner before. We'll get it together.
This motherfucker did about two and a half seasons, about 2 seasons in total at this point. And he said on live television, sorry, I never had a partner before. This motherfucker has fought he had a Zord that literally transformed into his partner Zords. And they made their own little Zord, the Mega Dragon Zord. That's what it was. While he was the Green Ranger. And he sit there and claimed that he never had a partner before. And I don't think anybody caught that shit. I did. I've held on to that long secret for about 10 years now. But yeah, I'd always wanted to share that, so I didn't want to forget that. I thought that was important. I thought that was cold-blooded. But yeah, Steve Urkel was a horrible human. Steve Urkel was terrible. Back to Steve Urkel. But Steve Urkel single-handedly made it, what normalized being a shitty human and phrasing it as weakness to get is mandated sympathy. Is that the right mandated sympathy? Is that's the right way to use that word? Steve Urkel was horrible. Looking back. Oh yeah, let me get the live stream request. I seen that. Thanks, RBT. I see it right here. Can you do Tuesday's live stream request? Let me get that right now. What's up, Elijah? I didn't see you right now. Here it is, right here. What? Oh, that was weird. Oh, shoot. Wait, no, I'm in the wrong window. Steve Urkel was horrible.
This conversation is...
Fuck Steve Urkel. What's up, Eddie? Hope things have been good with you. Currently in Japan, where cute girls everywhere. The food is great and cheap. What's your opinion on Asian allure the West has? Because I'm feeling it bad. See, I don't know, man. Because I would always end up with an Asian girlfriend, a girlfriend from some part of Asia in America. So like that whole like thing for me is like I don't have any um okay, because I would get in with their families, man, and I learned I learned when I was in my early 20s, you know, how Asian. I'm not saying okay. Every Asian person is not going to be 100% the same, but I will say this, like every community of women knows what men want and men who come from where and all that stuff like that, right? So like they're not dumb, okay? But if anything, Asians are far more cunning and they'll play that shit to their advantage. Asian women, they'll play that shit to their advantage, man. Like so like here's the thing. The mistake, okay, what I learned from dating, I don't know, at least a few Asian women I can think of right now. My first girlfriend in college was Filipino. Well, I'm sure it's like different cultures. You know, I'm sure it's not going to be like the same mentality for every Asian country. But what I did find out pretty early is that um, um, the world mistakes Asian women for being submissive. Okay, there is it's not that they're not submissive, but they're not submissive in the way that Westerners would assume. Okay, from my experiences, like they're very independent. Okay, but they know how to play that submissive a lot better than most other women on Earth do. But they're not like weak or anything. Like the motherfuckers are far more cunning than you would think. They're far more they're far more aware of reality. You know, and I think the West most Westerner guys don't like. I don't think it's a very common thing that Westerner guys would have that much contact with cold, especially to get like to sit down and eat dinner with the families for days at a time, kind of thing, or travel with them or stuff like that. Now, the Asian girls, they're not dumb and they're not weak at all. If anything, they're one. If anything, I would say they're probably one of the strongest women for real. If you, I'd be completely honest about it. Out of all the women that I've ever known, um, and when I say strongest, I'm talking about over the entire lifespan. Because the problem with like Slavic women and especially like Russian women is like they like to play strong up front, but then they'll back off into that whole like you got to give me everything you got kind of thing. Whereas like Asian, I mean every woman can't do that from every culture, but Asian women definitely have that sense of like brutal reality and that lifestyle unless they're the type of Asian woman who's like just chasing a certain type of rich Asian dude or rich dude, or she's just chasing like a white dude. Like a lot of Asian girls will just chase white guys, like you know, and don't care to tell everybody they'll look a white guy's piss off the floor. Like I don't know what exact. Well, I do have some idea what happened, but unless they're like in those worlds, like they hold on to that almost like Czech women to a sense. Like they hold on to that sense of working. They never let it go. They never let go of that sense of working. Now they can, like I said, like they know that, they'll know if you as a Westerner, like they know you want to see that Asian woman, from Asian porn and all that stuff. Like they know you want to see that. So if they like you, they may just play into that for you if they like you, kind of thing. But make no mistake, those girls are not, or those girls are not weak or dumb in the context of like an average dumb Westerner woman. They're not. They're leagues ahead of Western women for real. Like seriously, they play dumb, but they're not that dumb. They're not dumb. How's baby Kratos? Yeah, he's 3.5, Simon. He in school and everything. The couple ages I had. So I'm thinking of one right now. That was actually the worst sex I've ever had. that was a girl I met. She was from South Korea, and she wrote me while I was in Argentina. Actually, and I told this story a while back because she said that when she had moved from New York to Ohio to go to do her doctorate's degree, and when she got to Ohio, she went on. It was on OkCupid, and she went on OkCupid to find. At first she narrowed down the education to doctorate degrees, and there was nobody in OkCupid with doctorate degrees. I think she said it was like one or two guys, and then she went down to master's degrees, and that's where she found me. And she wrote me while I was in Argentina. I was in Buenos Aires. So when I came back, we hooked up. And it was so weird because I really did like her as a person. You know, we talked about education and we talked about going to get your doctorates, and she would tell me like, you know, what to do and where to go. I really liked her, you know, in the world. I really liked her in the world. But I mean, she wasn't fat or anything. She was a typical, you know, skinny, well-built, you know, girl, you know. But I remember I would dread her asking for sex because she was just so bad at sex. Like she just did, she's like it. She just moved. I remember she just moved her whole body when she got on top, and it was just like it was awful. Like I remember I would just dread having sex with her. But intellectually, she was great, man. We would go to like, you know, like all over, because I was living in Dayton at the time, and she was living in Cincinnati. So I had a dog, and I would bring my dog down to her flat, and we would just hang out for like that, like for the weekends. And she was real cool. Like I really liked her. But like I said, I would just dread having sex with her. I just did not want to have sex with her. Like that was a situation where I would love to just be her friend as like a neighbor kind of thing. I thought she was great like that. You know, she was well educated, well traveled. She was the one who took me to a real sushi place, not like the typical like just nigiri and like sushi rolls, but like just all types of raw fish, all types of fish like you never see in a regular. It was some place down there not far from University of Cincinnati, because she took me down there. I didn't even know where it was at. I didn't even know it existed. And we go in there. I'm thinking I could eat sushi. I couldn't keep up. Now that's real raw fish. These little like regular sushi spots. That's kindergarten. You go to them real raw fish places. Dude, I couldn't eat anything on the table. I think maybe one bite of something I could do, and she could just eat all of it. Like she grew up like near water. She could eat all of it. Like I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. But I really enjoyed her. I really enjoyed being around her and talking to her. But like I said, I just hated the thought of her just asking for sex. She was just so bad. Like I said, my first girlfriend, before the Filipino girl, I don't know if I even call her girlfriend. She was a stripper, and she chased me down. I didn't, because I thought she was too beautiful to ever even look my way, and she fell in love with me probably because I would never even look at her, and she literally hunted me down, kind of thing, and she taught me how to have sex. So I lost my virginity to the girl before her. Her name was Toya. It was a black girl who was legitimately a model. I told that story how I met Toya. I was in Dollar General going to college at the time, and I was trying to talk to the girl behind the register, and the girl behind the register says, "Oh, like, you know, I'm taken, but I'll give your number to my sister." Right? I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I just got played off, so I just gave her my number and left. Right? Well, her sister texted me, and then we called and talked. And then she sent me her picture, and she was legitimately a model. She was a black girl. She was legitimately a model. And she was okay. It wasn't, and I lost my virginity to her, and she wasn't like it wasn't that great. But then after her, I moved back home after college, and then the stripper chased me down. And she taught me how to have sex. So she could tell I wasn't a virgin, but she had to teach me, like, don't move your whole body, just move your hips right here. You know, you gotta kiss like certain spots. Like every woman's gonna like if you kiss like in a certain area. So she taught me how to have sex. So like I'm trying to think. Ever since her, I don't think I've ever had another woman who. Okay, no, let me take. Well, there was one girl I really did like sexually, to the point where like she like there was one, and I remember I would have to tell her to slow down. I just thought she was too beautiful, and it was one of those scenarios. And that was the only girl who's ever done that to me, where she was so beautiful, like I just wanted to come immediately, like, and I wanted to tell her to slow down. She looked like Meg, like she looked like a thicker Megan Fox, and she had this kind of cunty attitude that made her even hotter. And then like every pose she stood in, or like as she was sitting, like every pose was just like sexy, like she was just a beautiful, just a completely beautiful, 110% just physically beautiful. Like there was no angle, even when you were fucking her and you're looking in the mirror, there was no angle of her that did not look like, completely sexy. She was one of those types. And there was only one woman that was like that. Now she wasn't necessarily like great in bed, but she was the only one who I ever had that experience where like I would have to tell her to slow down because I'm gonna come like immediately by having sex with her, kind of thing. Has your child's mother tried to get child support? How does child support work with expats who don't work and check? Okay, yeah. So she tried to get some payments, and I shut that down immediately. And none of my money's taxed right now, so she can't get anything. I think she knew that because of how she tried to ask for it. She had to like casually ask for it and on this like paper, as if I would just like write something in there. She tried, but that's not gonna happen. But no, in in the child support laws here, I was just speaking to my other student, that director, the woman who's a director. We were talking about child support, and I was telling her like in America, child support is like that's fighting words in America, but over here, their culture is not built on celebrating child support to live off of and stuff like that. Their culture is just not. Even though they could do it, their mentality is not there. Like they could, like there are families, like especially like gypsy families, like they're like the rumor is that they're known to just like keep having kids, so they just keep maternity money coming in, and they'll just live off of that. So they'll just as soon as like the maternity money runs out, they just get pregnant again and get more maternity money, have birth and get more maternity money from the state. But it's still looked down upon over to do that, even though there's people who do it, but it's not as common. And so like child support, they're not going to give a woman like I think the max they'll give a woman would be like 10% or 10 to 15%. It depends on the age of the kid too, but it's never going to be anything that's going to like destroy the man kind of thing. That's not in their culture to do that. Now, some guys do just do it anyway, but it's not in their laws to their laws are not set up to essentially destroy the man, in the process. And that is a good thing. I'd say that is a good thing about Czech Republic. She would just get a judgment in the U.S. and it will run up whenever you come back. She gonna go after you for back support. Word. As far as I know, it doesn't work like that. That, as far as I know, that's not going to work like that. Because I know another woman, she has a son with a daughter with a guy in the U.S. And that, I don't know. I can't say I know 100%, but what I do know is that she has a daughter with a guy in the U.S. and he's never paid, and it wasn't even that much that he was supposed to pay. So because she told me this story. It was something like he had another kid in Florida and he was paying like $400 a month for that. So she wanted $400 a month for her kid here. But like the way the money worked out, like that's just a whole, that doesn't, $400 a month in Florida does not equal $400 a month in Czech Republic. Okay, $400 a month in Florida would be like $50 a month in Czech Republic. You know what I mean? Like that money. So she kept trying to push for that, and she could never get that to work because what's going to happen is with kids, at least in this situation, the two countries can't. Okay, which I'm not withholding anything, unless I were to volunteer some information, like the Czech government has no authority to get any information on earnings or anything from North America. Like they have no authority in that. Now they can word it so you would think you have to tell them, and that's where some guys do get fucked up because they didn't know. It's like for example, like there's situations where like governments outside the U.S., like they already know that they can't attack the U.S., but they can just like infer things to you to make you think you have to just do something when you really don't. Now, like I said, a lot of guys don't know this, and they will accidentally just just give up a bunch of information that will get them locked into something. Right. And that's a very important part that doesn't get talked about because guys are usually too ashamed to bring that up. That's usually how that happens. If the guy does not if the guy does not fall for that, even in there's like, it's how like when you get to these other countries, like laws don't work like they do in America. Like in America, they really not, maybe a police officer may try it from time to time, something like this. But like in America, like we don't do that. It's more direct in many ways. Whereas like other countries, like from the ground up, they kind of choose when they want to believe in laws and then choose when they can just like manipulate information out of you, kind of like what she did with the alimony. She tried to manipulate the alimony payment out of you. Like that's in their cultures. Like they don't believe in laws like Americans. Like not many places on earth believe in laws like Americans believe in laws. Like we believe in laws. And I was just telling my student about this. In America, where I deduced it was since America puts like God, it's literally in the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. We put God is clearly up here. And with God comes any situation of authority and this. So we, in America, we treat authority in the same sense of like immediate respect like God. Right. And in America, it very rarely gets blended down with the people. Now, in Europe, they were always kind of like God and the people were always kind of meshed together. So like they don't have that same perspective on law. Like there is no real true high authority in their mentalities because in their continent's lifespan, God was always kind of like mingled in where God was always meshed in with the aristocrats. So like you would essentially have to just pay your way into good blessings. And that's where that whole Martin Luther situation came from and all that. You would have to because most people didn't know how to read. So they would just make up the Bible to say whatever they wanted to get you to pay them more money to guarantee your spot in heaven. Right. I mean, you could Google it if you want. So like, but the point I'm getting at is they don't really have that same genuine like respect for authority. Like you'll very rarely hear a European say like, thank you for your service, to a police officer or to military. Like they don't care, like, you know what I mean? But in America, like you would always hear that because we maintain that respect for the higher, people kind of thing. But no, back. I'm an attorney. If she lives in the U.S., she can see a child support. Well, she's not in the U.S. She may not be able to collect until you come back and then garnish wages in the U.S. Well, she's not in the U.S. You think black man could have do you think a black man could have a legit relationship with a gypsy? I think it's possible, but not possible. The reason why I say it's possible is because gypsies see black people as equals because we're both, brown. And the world knows Europe can be very racist. So you you're not gonna, if you're black, you're not gonna have any issues with very little, if any, issues with gypsies. If anything, they'll like you more because it's that connection to, like, being to looking similar. The reason why I say it's a low chance is more because it's a very low chance you'll meet one who could speak English. At least in continental Europe, you're not gonna find a lot of them who could speak English. Now maybe in the UK, because they have gypsies up there, they'll speak English. I remember there was one guy, he came to visit the gypsy family that lived next door to me, and he could speak English, and it wasn't good, which is weird because he lived in the UK, but it wasn't good English. The reason why I know he lived in the UK is because I let him borrow my phone one time, and he left it open, and I seen where the police were looking for him. His mother was writing him saying the police looking for you, and I read the letter, and it was definitely UK shit, because how they write is like, they write like, they write how they talk, but they write it. But even the UK, like, they, like, well, I don't say they, it was from Britain. No, it was Scotland Yard. What the fuck, Scotland Yard? Is that it was Scotland Yard. They were looking for him. I think it was Scotland Yard. They were looking for him. And they were even like trying to like infer that he should do something, but not like on a formal legal way, but like on a personal swindling way. When I read the letter, it was like legit. Like when I read the letter, I can like, first off, see, here's the part that people don't really know. Like as an American, when you deal with like UK shit, and you know what I mean, and you really get in there, if you get in any kind of like deeper like reading in their shit that's supposed to be like formal and all this, like they write like professional teenagers with a British twist on it. But it's like they still attack with this like, I'm gonna swindle you into doing something kind of thing, right? It's never this like in America, like our legal system in America is definitely more formal. There's now they may leave stuff out, but it's not this like personal, our legal system does not operate in that sense of like, we're gonna personally swindle you. I mean, some swindling does happen, but it's not. It's hard to explain. Like when I still remember reading that letter, and it was like it was like a teenager wrote it. It was like an educated teenager who was trying to swindle a criminal into telling on himself. You know what I mean? It was really bad. Like, I wouldn't have fallen for that. I'm sure some people may fall for it, but yeah. She get a U.S. child support judgment and have it domesticated. Well, hey, good luck, Orlando. I tell her good luck. She lives in the U.S. She can get it. She get a U.S. She just have it domesticated. Well, I tell her good luck. Good luck. Why did you and your child's mother break up? Well, I kicked her out because I was in the other room. I'll tell you a story exactly how it happened. I was in the other room playing Shinobi on my Nintendo Switch, and my son was in here asleep. And I was in the other where I used to live stream from. I was laying on the bed, literally playing Shinobi. I was having fun too, because I think Shinobi is a very underrated game. And she came in there wanting to talk, and she had been drinking, and then which was already a huge, because I don't drink at all around my son. Even when I did, it wasn't like, I had slowed down all that. She had clearly been drinking, and we got into it, and then she got it, and she tried to choke, but she choked. She put her hands around my neck, and I pushed her off me, and then she was like begging me to hit her. I was like, okay, yeah, like, you're not coming back. There's no way out of this. There's just no way out of this, period. So I told her she's just not coming back in here. I told her the next time she walks out of here is going to be the last time she walks out of here. And that was like beginning of December, something like that. It had to have been somewhere around the beginning of December. Maybe middle of December, but I think it was like beginning of December. But yeah. What do you think is the underlying means of women saying they want to spice things up in the bedroom? Well, she's bored. She might, in my opinion, I think it really means either. It can mean a few things. It could mean she doesn't like you anymore for real, and she's trying to search for reasons to like you. It could mean that she wants you to just dominate her. I would say it's usually between one of those two. Usually, most men are too afraid to just dominate a woman in bed, or most men just don't know how to dominate her in bed because there's too much relationship built up before. Honestly, I think by that time, it's pretty much done. But by the time a woman is coming saying she wants to spice things up in the bedroom, I think in full reality, I think for one reason or another, it's not looking too good for the guy. I mean, it could still work out, but ultimately, you still get to father your son. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have him either tomorrow or Sunday. Yeah, yeah. He got skateboards and all types of shit over here. You just can't see it now, but all his toys are back there by the couch. Yeah, he's cool, man. I just bought him a bike. I got a funny story about that. So I just bought him a bike. Now, he never had addiction problems to anything. Like candy, chocolate, phones, tablets, never had an addiction. He'll just get down, play with it until he's done and then leave the iPad, right? When I bought him that bike, that's when he finally developed an addiction. Because usually, like, I can just tell him, like, no, whatever, and he just leaves it. But when I brought that bike home, he couldn't leave it alone. And he can't ride it in here for real. So it got to the point where he was like sneaking. That was the first time he ever tried to deceive me. He was genuinely like trying to sneak after I just told him no to go get back on the bike. It was the first time he's ever done anything like that. But the way he did the last time was funny because it was in the other room where she choked me at. And he was like right here, right? And he was like I could tell he was trying to think of ways to get back to the bike. And I was sitting in the bed, and he looked at me, and he all of a sudden he just starts like, remember that scene where Homer Simpson like backs up into a tree and just like disappears to the tree? That's what he started doing. But he was going like this, like, and just kind of kept walking backwards, like real slow, right? And just make sure he wasn't going to hit nothing while he was walking backwards. And he kept walking back and try to get back to that room, right? Now he didn't know I had taken the bike out the room and hid it in the closet. So he thought the bike was still over there. It's not over there. So, so he went like this and walked. He backed up like all the way through the kitchen like this, like, and looking at me to see if I would tell him stop. And I never told him stop. So he thought he was genuinely getting away with it, right? And he was just going like this, like, and then he got all the way back there and figured out the bike wasn't there and came back crying. And then he was looking for the bike in the bathroom. He was looking for the bike in the refrigerator. He was looking for the bike under the table. He was looking for the bike everywhere. I mean, he's 3. He doesn't have that logic that you don't put bikes in refrigerators. You know what I mean? This motherfucker he was damn near telling me to check behind the milk if the bike was back there. He was mad. But that's his first addiction. Oh, but yeah, no, free man, yeah, yeah. With the tablets, no, it was right now, no. I read to him from the tablet. There's these read-alongs. There's one book I always read to him, which I don't think he likes, but I just read anyway. Is when this bear takes a poop in the woods, and I read it to him and laugh with the book and play with him and stuff like that. It's a read along, so I read it to him, and there's this one game where he matches up it's like matching shapes, some shit like that, and he doesn't play it for long. He likes to look at it and he'll go yay and play with it for like 2 minutes and then just leave the iPad somewhere and go off and do something else. He just wants to hear the music from Well, I bought him a phone. I bought him a phone like a year ago. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of interest in it. The only thing he's ever, like I said, with candy, anything like he doesn't do candy. He doesn't do juice. The juice is always a problem, and he doesn't. As of right now, he doesn't touch juice. Doesn't touch candy. I can barely get him to eat chocolate anymore. He's switching over now to like he likes when I cook. Like he loves. So, but the thing is, when he does eat, he'll just binge out on one thing and then never touch it again. So like before, I was just making spaghetti in a certain way that I make it, and he really liked that. And he just all of a sudden quit doing that. And now, and the last thing he's on is I make pork belly sandwiches. I make some delicious pork belly, by the way. I make pork belly sandwiches in a sandwich maker, and he'll eat, and he eats all that. But he doesn't even eat like pudding, anything like that anymore. He used to eat some. Well, it's not technically pudding. It's called sheep and not check. It's like a thicker pudding, fluffy, almost like whipped cream. He used to love that. Doesn't touch that anymore. I bought tons of it, and I end up eating it all because I think it's delicious. Because he doesn't eat. I open it for him. He'll just let it sit there and go off and do something else. So like I said, he's come. The only thing I get him to eat is he wants my home cooked food. And milk. That's it. Now, it might change this weekend. I don't know. But that's all I get him to eat. I got to cook something. Yeah. What's up? Oh, let me start this video. I completely forgot. It's so funny how you predicted that Brittany Jenner would hit that wall, and it was over, and she hit that wall. She hit the wall hard. I wish her good luck. Is your kid the only black one in his school? No. There's a girl. Is a white dude with like an African woman in the school. There's a lot. There's a lot of Vietnamese. I'm assuming they're Vietnamese kids in there. And there's, like I said, I think there's only one other like black or like mixed with black kid. Because I've seen the mother. She's definitely African. And it's a white dude. So the girl's like mixed, but the girl looks like more black than my son. Like my son, you can tell he's mixed. That girl, you would think she was black until you seen her dad. Not okay. You would think the black girl in his class was African American, not African. Like if you were to see her, you would think she was African American. I used to couldn't see this before, but now I can see it. Like people say, like they can look at me, and for those who know, they can look at me and they immediately know I'm not African, right? I can see it in that little girl. Like I would assume she was African American, but she's African, and I'm guessing the guy's Czech. I don't know. Bowies. Appreciate your thoughts on the Asian thing, Eddie. The Japanese girls really lean into that feminine, cute side of attraction, play into their strengths. Refreshing coming from an indigenous Australian. Jesus Christ, I'm still off. But yeah, let's play this video.
This conversation is often reduced to labels. In this episode of The Bridge, feminist and anti-feminist women sit face to face to explore where their beliefs about womanhood, equality, and freedom align, and where they don't. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Daff. Welcome to The Bridge. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here today. I want you to just go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Kyla Turner, and I am a feminist.
Hi, my name is Anne. I'm a feminist.
I'm Bella. I'm a feminist.
I'm Ceci. I'm a feminist.
I'm Chelsea Gods. I'm a feminist.
I'm Matrix, and I'm anti-feminist.
I'm Jada, and I'm an anti-feminist.
I'm Savannah, and I'm anti-feminist.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maggie. I do not identify as a feminist.
Hi, I'm Carmen JC, and I am an anti-feminist.
Thank you, ladies. And the first prompt is, women have more privileges today than men. Okay, anyone who feels strongly can speak.
I think women in many ways have more privileges, but they also have more oppressions. And I think both of these things have to be weighed in when you're talking about like people's social power, right? It's really important to understand that women face.
Yeah, I was gonna say to Orlando, like I'm really shocked. Maybe times are changing. Because the first two definitely, well, like the first one looks like she definitely looks like she's genuinely there and on an attractive level. So I'm shocked. I'm impressed. Maybe times are changing.
Significant oppressions, significant issues. And so while some of the privileges that we can identify, like courts tend to be more lenient to them, for example, if there's a situation, for example, of custody, women are going to be favored in that situation. They also have less choice with their bodies, right? They have issues where with hiring, if they try to negotiate, they'll be seen as caustic and negative because there are kind of our stereotypical presumptions of how women have to be. And these things impact women significantly. That's just why I would say they have less political power overall as well.
Well, just one of those things was not true in regards to custody decisions in this country. In fact, men are more likely to receive custody of their children if they ask for it. If men seek custody in a court in the United States of America, statistically, they are 90% likely to receive more custody or possibly even exactly what they were asking for. I would just say that women are not more likely to receive custody of children in court. Men are. Women just are the ones who more receive custody in court.
It's true. It's only 4%. Only 4% of men fight for custody of their children.
And when they do, it's successful 90% of the time. So that would tell me that court actually favors men.
Well, who's actually paying for the attorney? I'm not sure. I've heard, because I've never actually been in court for that, but I've heard that men end up paying for the attorneys a lot. So maybe, I mean, this is just a thought. I could be wrong. I possibly am wrong. But maybe a lot of men don't fight for it because you've already taken all his money and everything is already owned, and he just simply doesn't have any more money to fight for the kids in court. It's just a thought. I could be wrong. I could be off, but.
I understand that there's like kind of this anecdote that family court does in fact favor women, but it just so happens that women are more likely to want custody of their children. And that's where that mythology comes from.
I would disagree. You mentioned that men get custody when they ask for it, and that presumes that women don't have to ask for it. Why doesn't it begin equal and men not having to ask for custody if they are actually full parents, just like the mom?
Sure, that's a great question. I think it's really important that we have a conversation that our laws are written by men. Our courts are ruled by men. So if you have some concern about what a court presumes, well, that's a conversation to have with men too. They're the ones who wrote the laws.
I saw you shaking your head.
I just know that my dad got custody of me because he asked for it. And it's a personal experience. It's not everything, but
sorry, go ahead.
I completely agree that like all of the laws that we have, we can vote now, but we're still in a system that was designed by men. So a lot of the issues that we have, that men have, are because of decisions that they made.
But why would you start out assuming 50-50, like that both parents want the kid? Because in a lot of cases, like men just aren't asking. So wouldn't you want to make the assumption that like the parent who pursues custody is the one who one feels empowered to, and two wants to? Because I agree, like there is a system set up where men probably don't feel empowered to ask for custody of their children, but I think that they should, first of all. But there is a problem, like you can't just say, oh, it's fully the court system's fault. I think there is a culture that encourages young men to just say, oh, well, that's a woman's job. That's, not my job. Not, if the woman wants the kid, she can have the kid. And I don't know why a court would assume that a father just wants to be a father.
I was going to say, so wouldn't that culture that would put that on men be a result of feminism? Because men would probably prefer to have the women in their household. And also, women are the ones that are more likely to engage in divorce. So men want to stay with these women.
Engage in divorce?
Yeah.
Like start divorce,
like
is what you're saying.
File. Yeah, and men are the ones that actually stay because they want their family together. It is women that actually disrupt the family, and then they get upset with the results of a disrupted family.
or they just want to keep the woman so that she's running the household. I don't know if it's necessarily I don't know. Men can't function as well without women as women can without a man. So I feel like when he hears divorce is on the table, it's going to disrupt his whole life a lot more. And I feel like that's really what they're thinking about.
So women do initiate divorce more. The issue is that they also initiate couples therapy. They also initiate seeking every single other alternative before divorce at basically the same rates as we see with divorce rates, right? So yes, women are divorcing. The issue is that like men accepting a loveless marriage with children who are miserable isn't like this thing that we should hold up and go, see, isn't this better? It's like, actually, all of this is unhealthy, right? It's unhealthy that men have been socialized in such a way that they don't think of themselves as fathers first, that they aren't asking for it, right? Whereas in this way, this is where women have been taught for both good and bad, that you are a mom, right? And I think we default to that, which is harmful to women. But we have to acknowledge that like women are seeking off-ramps in these relationships where divorce happens. And the same issues that they cite for divorce are happening over and over and over again. And this is a systemic issue. It's not just women want to get out of their marriages. It's that women won't tolerate a loveless, empty marriage, which is not even good for children.
So a loveless, empty marriage, how does the system contribute to what happens in your marriage?
Well, the way that we raise our boys, right, for example, is we teach them that the way that boys express their feelings, we teach them the only emotion you're allowed to have as a boy is anger. That's the only one allowed. But if you have anger, go to your room. Nobody wants to look at you or deal with you. And so what we've done is we've taught men that their feelings aren't okay, that if they have them, they're isolated and weak for having them. And so the only alternative for them is anger or anhedonia, a complete like emptiness and vacuousness. And so in this way, this is how society is contributing to this, because the presumptions we place onto our children that set a course and script for them that destroys their relationships. And men are reporting this. They're lonely, they have less friends, and their marriages don't work out. Men are saying this, not just women.
Really? Well, women do say it, so I mean, I don't understand why it's always like the men, because the men aren't emotional, because the men aren't this. Like, the women are the ones that want to leave. So
but women want to leave, and maybe we should ask them why, because men are responsible for 90% of the violent crime in the U.S. Like, we always talk about women and what we should be doing. I really can't. I talk about feminism a lot, and I get so sick of it because I don't know why we're not talking about men. We're always focusing on women and what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing with men. They're responsible for 95% of domestic violence, 93% of sexual assaults and pedophilia, 88% of homicides, 85% of serial killings, 98% of mass shootings. Could I go on? And 77% of assaults. They are responsible for so much, and then we sit here and want to make women feel bad for wanting to leave that man. I don't know why we always are.
See, now, with all those stats that she just rattled off, right? The reason why she can rattle off those, I mean, and I would say that they're going to be true, is simply because women have learned their place in rebellion or aggression. Okay, that woman, every woman up there knows. Okay, like, geez, we really need I've said this for years. Men and women need separate law books because punishing laws are 100% aimed at men and how men have to live and survive. Women very rarely fall into these cracks. And if they do, they can still manipulate their ways out of it in many ways. Right. Well, not in many intricate ways, but cumulative. It's going to be very few ways, but they're very efficient ways. Meaning, these women, every woman up here knows that if she gets mad and thinks she can beat up a man, that man can beat the dog shit out of her. Right. So that's going to immediately lower the chances of any of these women thinking that they could, assault somebody, physically take advantage of somebody, all that. See, but they're not going to bring that side up. That's part, and this is why I think men and women need two separate law books for men and women to destroy that myth that women are far more violent. It's that they can't express it in the same physical ways because they will just get the shit kicked out of them. So now they have to just be manipulative in what they do and how they destroy things and how they can escape the blame. So now you can't say we did it, T. If anyone, and here, this is the example I like to use to put it in relativity, right? Would be like, let's say if there was like 5 ADs and then there was like 5 professional boxers, right? Living in a house. Okay. Who's going to have the higher violence rates? There you go. Because the 5 ADs knows that he can't fight a boxer if something goes wrong. So at that point, what does AD do now? AD knows he can't fight the 5 professional boxers in a physical match. So AD now has to start swindling, lying, manipulating things and moving that way. So now if you go back to criminal statistics, yeah, the 5 professional boxers are gonna commit 90% of all the physical assaults because they're the ones who can. AD can't. And there'll be a few 540-pound dudes, who will try something from time to time, but it's going to be rare, right? Because I will adapt to committing crimes that I can actually get away with. See, that's the important parts. And see, this is why I think laws. See, when women like this get a hold of laws, see, you just don't listen to women ever. Because they don't have genuine critical thinking skills when it comes to this. Like I said, I think we need to make 2 law books. Until there's 2 separate law books for men and for women, those statistics mean nothing to me. If anything, all the rules are targeted towards men. Right? It'd be like saying, okay, let's take it to another area. Let's take baby lions and full-grown pit bulls. Now, both of them are the same size. Let's take a full-grown pit bull and a baby lion, right? Let's say we put 30 baby lions in a room and we put 30 full-grown pit bulls in a room, right? Them 30 lions can kill any of them pit bulls whenever they feel like it. They on multiple different levels, from just being stealthy to just straight up muscles. All right, maybe not baby, maybe like an adolescent lion, something like that, right? Have you ever seen like a real lion, fucking like even like a kid lion? A kid lion can sneak up on me right now and I would not know. Okay, the motherfuckers are no joke, but they're the same size as a pit bull, so they're equal. So it should be 50-50. No, it don't work like that. There's a whole. These are 2 completely different species of crime committings right now, of committing crimes. You see what I'm saying? So of course the lions are going to have higher violence rates because they can. The dogs can't. The pit bulls can. The pit bulls like to think they're tough when it's a hobby, but they can't compete with a child lion. Now I would say that's about a good equivalent for men and women. Women would be a pit bull. And men would be like teenage lions at the weakest. Like at the absolute, like maybe like a 10-year-old lion at the weakest, in human ages, in human terms of, maturity, 10 years old. But women's violence it's completely different. Entirely different. Women can genuinely, women learn from literally like when they're children how to manipulate crowds and how they think. And not only doing that, but manipulate people into not wanting to believe that it was them who did it in the first place. Like they learned this shit from before 13 years of age. It's what they do. Because they learn early on that they look. Here's the thing. I didn't even notice this until I was with my son. He was maybe like 1.5, something like that, right? And we were at this little kids play area, and it was like you had to throw these balls at the wall, and it would like hit something but it was on the projector was shining on the wall, but it was like an interactive wall. You could throw the balls at it, right? At first it was just me and my son in there, and it was like some other boys, right? And they was running around, and doing stuff. And then some little girls came in there, right? And that was the first time I had genuinely seen it like on a personal level, that this is from birth. Like, the boys were just faster, more aggressive. They were just running circles around, and the girls were sitting around waiting for somebody to hand them a ball, because they just weren't fast enough to go get the balls from the boys, and they were scared that even if they could go get close to a boy would just push them over, and the girls were just like frozen. They couldn't do anything, right? That was the first time I noticed that. I really seen it, you know. And I told his mom, like, I get it now. Like, boys are really like, girls really can't mess with boys at all, and it starts when they're babies. It's just how it just starts from the very beginning. They unless you can probably train a girl up to that, but naturally, no, it's gonna be very rare you find a girl who naturally gets that. Don't happen. So what do girls have to do? They have to learn how to be cute, how to be nice, whatever, to survive. And in that, they have to learn how to manipulate to get ahead. And guess what? There's no laws. There's very little laws that are going to specifically target women and women crimes that they can get convicted of. Very little. Very little.
Focusing on women all the time.
Well, because their solution is always to leave. It's never to
Not
stay and
always.
figure out-
Sometimes they want to have therapy, and the man doesn't want to do
Yeah,
that.
and therapy is such BS because you go to a couples therapist and they say, "Oh yeah, you should leave your husband."
That's not
the
always
solution.
true.
Yes, that is.
Have you
that
been
is
to couples
always
therapy?
the solution. No, and I will not go to
okay, so you're
couples
just making
therapy.
assumptions.
I have
Great.
heard so many stories. I see it. I've seen it online.
Yeah, if you have a marriage and couples counselor and they are just recommending divorce, which is not true. I've gone to marriage counseling and they didn't recommend divorce. If they're doing that off the hop, that would be unethical. You can actually report them for that. They're trained for more than this. A marriage counselor got trained to see marriages be happy, right? The thing that they want is a fixed, rectified marriage. Sometimes that can't happen for a number of reasons. However, the idea that marriage counselors are just telling women to divorce their husbands is so far from any of the literature that reports on this, so far from the ethics these people are trained on, is basically taking an entire field of care workers and saying, you actually just want to destroy the thing that you care for, which is it's just not true.
Okay, I need to ask a question to both sides. So, ladies on this side, do you believe that the gender gap pay is still real?
No, it's not. That's been debunked so many times.
Okay. And ladies on this side, I'm sorry, I want to hear from you on this side.
I think it's real if you just look at statistics. A lot of people say like, oh, well, women are just choosing different jobs. And it's like we're raised to idealize different jobs. But even then, it's like women, if you have a child, you're now also working and you have a child, you're not going to work as much. So it's like that's to blame. The gender pay gap is huge. And the whole, I think it's like 75 cents on the dollar is just for white women.
So real fast, I wanted to touch on that topic because somebody did just write. Kevin, you said, yeah, they need to make a panel of American feminists versus Eastern traditional women. So, and this was me and my one student, we were talking about this. So the reason why like European, especially Eastern European women, they're still comfortable in their roles of being feminine. Like, even though me and my child's mother fell out, like, she's definitely feminine. Like, she's not masculine at all. The reason why they never, like, they're still comfortable in that role, and in reality, they're really strong. Like, American women are just like legit Western women are just fucking embarrassing, and they're so fucking dumb they don't even know it, you know, because everybody's speaking English, so they'll just listen to them, kind of thing. So they genuinely, American women genuinely start to think they're intelligent. Because they don't speak other languages to know what other people are talking about in the world. So I think I brought this up on here. The reason why, like, especially like when communism was spreading, what happened during communism is, well, one, they missed that entire women's liberation movement that like America went through, that the UK went through. They missed like I would say at least half of continental Europe just completely missed it. At least half. because they were under communism, or they were in the quarrels with somebody, so they weren't even paying attention to it. But for whatever reason, they completely missed communism. I mean, they completely missed women's liberation. And for the ones who were under communism, in reality, they ended up far stronger because those women worked legally. They had jobs, and then they had to come home and still take care of the kids. Like there was no separating, like there was no long-term maternity leave, anything like that. They were like, just like the men had to go to work, come home, they went to work, and then the women were still responsible for coming home and taking care of the kids out of cultural history. So they never left. And on top of that, they never adopted that, like, we're equal to men and all that. They missed all that. They were living under a fucking curtain that whole time. So they missed, like, literally all of that women's lib portion of it. So that's why, like, even now, like, they still value being pretty. They value being feminine. And I mean, you're going to have competition here or there, but it's not like on an American level where, like, unless you're just entirely beautiful, like, other women will entirely take other women down for being cute, unless the woman's just, like, drop dead gorgeous. Now over here, like, you're always going to see gorgeous women. In Prague, you're always going to see beautiful women, dude. But it's not the same thing like in America. Or most Western countries. Once they got that money, got that extra money to kick around and talk shit about feminism, that's when they start eating all of it.
It's less for Hispanic women. It's less for Black women. Like it changes. It's very real.
But you think that they're choosing like hospitality jobs because they were raised that way, or because women just naturally like those jobs better?
Well, like, let's say like nursing. Nursing used to be a male-only profession. They wouldn't let women work on women's bodies at all. Became more female-dominated, and now men don't even want to be in that profession, so then they lower the pay because it's a woman's job. Same thing with teaching. It used to.
Honestly, like, if you gave me the option of a man working on my body or a woman on my body, I would trust a man. I would choose the man. 100%. Hey, call me misogynistic. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. Look, if I've got to trust somebody, if I got to trust a man or trust a woman who could be emotional that day, she could be mad because her mother did something to her, or her sister wore her dress, or Sarah's not talking to her and Sarah's being a bitch in security, and then I gotta trust that woman with my lively, like, it's that Family Guy scene, like, either I gotta choose to live or die kind of thing, right? Like, I'm gonna trust a man. I don't want a woman working on my body. Okay, if I had the option, I would pick all men taking care of my body. For real. Women are not, and look, they're not considered. It's strictly from merit. It's a merit-based decision, right? I'm just not taking a chance on somebody who might be emotional for 15 minutes and they're just in a bad mood. All this inconsistency because they're in a bad mood. Look, take that shit somewhere else. I want to live. Or you look like her ex-boyfriend. And she been done destroyed your whole life because she's in a bad mood. Look, I'm right on board with them doctors from the 50s. Get that woman up out of here, wherever the fuck they was doing that. Get the women up out of here. Bring all men nurses in this motherfucker, okay? At least I can get some consistency out of this shit.
To be just a male-only job. We wouldn't let women teach. Women got into it. Suddenly the pay drops for it.
Well, and not to mention, in addition to things like the gender pay gap, we also now see that women
got into it. Suddenly the pay change. Men don't even want to be in that profession, so then they lower the pay because it's a woman's job. Same thing with teaching. It used to be just a male-only job. We wouldn't let women teach. Women got into it. Suddenly the pay dropped.
What she's talking about is really coming from a very ignorant perspective, which I'm not surprised. She's a feminist. And this is pretty much basic math. When women flooded the workforce, okay, if you have a society where only the men are working most of the jobs, and then all of a sudden you double the workforce overnight, pay does not go up. It goes down. Okay. But that's a woman mentality. Well, just make more money. That's a typical woman mentality. Just make more money. I don't know. Just make more money. That's like logic. This is why I vote for male nurses. Jesus Christ.
Jobs for it.
Well, and not to mention, in addition to things like the gender pay gap, we also now see that women majority professions are being attacked education-wise, as the Trump administration just made it so that you can't consider nursing a professional degree. Audiology is no longer a professional degree.
I think that's valid.
Yeah, and making it harder for you to get student loans.
I think nursing should not be a valid. Yeah, I agree with that. One of my friends is a nurse. I agree. I don't think that should be a professional degree. And I tell you, I remember when they upped the requirements for that, because when I was going to community college back then, there was a surge in nursing because people found out you can make like $50,000-$60,000 a year doing it with an associate's degree. So over like 5 years, there was a surge. Everybody wanted to go to school for nursing, right? Well, throughout that time period, what happened was, since the market was just being flooded with nurses, they raised the requirements to a bachelor's degree. I clearly remember that time. This had to have been around 2000. Let me see. I'm with 2009. This was around 2009-ish to about 2015-ish. There was a surge of nurse. Everybody wanted to go to nursing because that's where you're going to make money. Everybody knew, well, for uneducated people, that's a lot of money back then. So it was a surge of nurses. The only reason why it's a professional degree is because there was a financial surge and they had to find a way to thin that crowd out. That should not be. There was nothing ever about nursing that should have ever required a bachelor's degree or higher. There was nothing ever about that. Y'all motherfuckers got this shit confused. Okay? Like I said, that had to have been around 2000. I would say at earliest 2000. I started college in 2009 when I finally went and stuck with it. This was around 2000. I clearly remember that surge. Nursing should not, like I said, the only reason they did that was to slow down people from just going to get a little bullshit 2-year degree to go be a nurse. I know a guy who did that. One of my friends. His name's Brandon. It's a very common name, so you'll never find it. He went off and did that. And you know what it did? All nursing degrees did was teach a bunch of fucking people that they could really be a doctor if they just went back to school for 2 years. Because now they think they're that close to being a doctor. That was a huge mistake. That whole that raising the education requirements on that was just a huge mistake, like all the way around. Like, if you speak to any actual doctor and they'll tell you, like, that shit was a mistake. And it has women who ended up trying to think they could automatically do that job. It has them completely confused, because the women, they'll go into the field just to go see if they could suck a doctor's dick. That's the reason why I say at least 80% of them will go into the field, like nursing, military, these kind of fields. They're just going there just to hook up with men in the field. It completely confused a good 10 years worth of population, I would say. Completely confused them. And I agree. If Trump said that sounds pretty logical. If Trump said that, I completely agree. They should remove all that. 1,000%. They should remove it. It's got so many people thinking that, I'm pretty much a doctor. I would tell a story, but I don't know if that's going to be too embarrassing. Not for me, but for my friend. Because he's a good friend. I like him. But I remember, okay, I'll tell the story. Because nurses, I'm not saying, okay, I still hold my statement 100%. But I'm not saying like nurses are like bad people. But it definitely, okay, because I was watching another something else where a guy was saying people who get tattoos typically don't have good personalities, which I guess like some people do just take their tax return just to get tattoos to make up for a bad personality kind of thing, or non-existent personality. It totally exists, but not because I got tattoos, right? So I get where the guy's coming from. But the nurse profession tends, I'm not going to say that it does this every time, but it tends to attract I don't want to say underachievers. Nowadays, it tends to attract cowards, or coward is too strong of a word. But it tends to attract a type of person who, for real, is scared of the world. I'll say that. These fields tend to attract people who are really afraid of the world and do not like independent decision making. But they want people to think that they can operate in that world and with people who can make firm, decisions under pressure, these kind of things, right? These fields tend to attract, like dental assistants, any type of assistant field. These are fields where like the person is never going to be really held like 100% responsible unless it's like a specific situation. Like they can always blame the doctor or something. Like they can always run away from the responsibility. Like elementary school teachers. These kind of like people who are like trying to run away from responsibility. They can always just blame someone else. It's their reason why they didn't pass the test, not mine. So they're in trouble. Like it tends to attract these people because they know like up front, when people see it or hear it, they'll think highly of them and just never give it much thought and just give them all the kudos and glory for, working in a hospital and wearing scrubs, like it tends to attract. But when you actually like look at their whole lives, like they'll usually like their whole life usually will follow that path. Like they never wanted to be a leader. They never tried to be a leader. And if you get them drinking, like they're afraid to be a leader. They look up to other authority immediately and are afraid of authority immediately, kind of thing. It like if you look, generally speaking, that this is my history with these types of groups of people. Like they're always like. They're walking out in the world like this kind of thing, right? Like they're not just, look, I made a decision. This is my decision. I live with it. It's always kind of this, no, it wasn't my fault. It's always that kind of shit, right? But yeah.
Because they've maxed out how much you can get in student loans. And all of these affect women more than it affects men. Well, if you're a chiropractor, great job. That's still a professional degree because that's a job that most men would seek. But if you're going to be a nurse, well, that's a job most women would seek. Now you don't get to have a loan for the amount that you need. That's an example of a gender pay gap. That's an example of like what happens when you're taking opportunity away from women and women not making as much or being given as much in a loan or whatever.
Do you on this side feel that you can support women and not identify with the feminist movement?
Not if you like pants. My mom went to school, and until in middle school, she had to wear a skirt every single day. That is one generation. That is my mother. If you're wearing pants, you get to wear those in public because people like my mother were part of the feminist movement.
I would respectfully disagree here, right? So like I worked in an addiction center. I was an addiction counselor formerly. It was for women. It was a Christian center, right? What you'll often see is that some of the most like dominant nonprofits for women are often religious in nature, and that tends to lean towards like the right side. Most of the people that I worked with didn't identify as feminists. They obviously helped women. I also obviously disagreed with them on a lot of stuff. I think that when women dislike feminism, it's because they have issues with specific feminists, or they, in my mind, have like some misinfo that they believe in, right? But like, of course you can be like a person who cares about women and not identify as a label. I would just say, come to my side. You probably do agree fundamentally with my presumptions about what feminism should be for and what it is.
Anyone have anything to say about that on this side?
And mind you, the woman who was so mad at her mom had to wear skirts, she's wearing a skirt right now. Just remember that.
As far as being a feminist and supporting women, I don't think the feminist movement supports women at all. I think it actually harms them. It's told us that sexual exploitation is empowering and that we should kill our offspring if it's an inconvenience to our life, and that marriage and family are not important anymore. I mean, it's completely destroyed everything that's been unique about womanhood.
So the alternative is like, let me get my ass beat, take my Xanax, and raise these kids when I don't want to. Like, what's the alternative for women who aren't happy at home? Like, that's what I don't understand.
Women are pill popping more now than they were in the 50s. They're more depressed than they were. Yes, this is completely.
And men are 4 times, women, yes, 2 times more likely to be on antidepressants than men. Men are 4 times more likely to kill themselves.
Why do you think that we're more likely to be on antidepressants?
Capitalism,
Money?
the way the world is, the economy. I'll tell you.
Because money preys on women's dumb emotions. That's why.
Right now, the economy controls the mood of a country. The mood of the country sucks because the economy. Capitalism is the actual enemy here, not feminism. Feminism was just a human rights movement like the civil rights movement. Black people should have equal rights. What's the difference between a woman and a black person?
A lot. The only reason she's mad, like Dave Chappelle said, the only reason why she's mad is because, like, she just didn't get the cut she wanted out the deal. That's the only reason why she's mad.
Like the civil rights movement. Black people
There's a huge difference between blacks in America and white women. Okay. I say this all the time. Look, if you go throughout all of human history, no matter what color they were, their societies would build up. Now, if you go throughout any human civilization, any human civilization in recorded history, women never led, except for very rare times. And even when they did, imminent failure was coming. Okay. It was imminent. Okay. There's a huge difference. It always bothers me, especially how like white women try to like pull the suffer card. It is so pathetic. It's such a sad argument, and from America, it's a sad argument. It's a really sad argument. What's the difference between a black person and a woman? Like, that is a massive. See, as a white woman, all she has to do is take that ugly ass dye out of her hair and smile in front of a camera. Okay. See, the difference between a woman, a white woman, and any black person is, see, if she had to take a road trip from Ohio to Georgia, she doesn't have to worry about where she's got to stop to go to the bathroom. She doesn't have to worry about raising her voice too much at work because people might be afraid of her. She doesn't have to worry about accidentally intimidating people. If she travels to Europe, she doesn't have to worry about kids staring at her. And then the black person has to worry, well, whether are the parents teaching the kids, like, are these good, white people or not? I don't know. See, there is like that. That is such a pathetic argument from God. That just bothers me on so many levels. That's a struggle that white people don't know about. See, you can just decide to just get in a car and drive somewhere. I mean, you might be a little worried that somebody might be, a little off, but you still feel like the world is still yours. Okay, perfect example. This is another example I always think to use. This is what I be telling my Russian friend. We were just talking earlier today. Because he knows I went to the military briefly, right? So we talk about it, and I try to explain it to him, but I don't think he really gets it. See, when let's say there's an attack on American soil from a terrorist, right? Now, a white person and a black person would be scared, a little shaken and rattled, of course, right? But as a black person, like, I don't feel like I don't feel an obligation to fight for North America. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel an obligation. Now the white dude might go out there be like, no, bro, think of our forefathers who made this. I'm gonna fight for because he feels like it's his, and it is, right? To an extent, you know. See when the difference between a white person and a black what the difference between a white person and a black person. See, when she walks outside, she sees her right to be on the land and her right to have this. A black person sees they're allowed to be on the land. That's a big difference in America, right? I can speak for America. That's the difference. You know, at the core. Like here's the thing. If she screams, you assaulted my rights. You know, I have a right to be here, right? She genuinely believes it. White people genuinely, they'll raise their voice at cops and, no, this is my right. I know my rights. See, a black person can't do that. Like, you will not, look, you'd be very rare. You hear a black person have faith and rights. Is these little areas. See, like, well, Patriots, it has, okay, Freeman, yeah, maybe times have changed. Times have probably changed, man, maybe. Maybe I'm old and out of touch. I tried playing real quick. I tried playing Arma 3. I bought it all because the Bohemia Interactive. It's like down. I tried to get a job there, working as an English as a translator, or not but like a proofreader for like their websites and stuff in English. Bohemia Interactive, the team who makes Arma, it's like down. It's right down the street. I go past it every day. So I bought Arma 3. It's this PC game. It's a war game, and I just can't play it, man. Like they make those games for white boys. You know what I mean? Like they make them for white boys. Like, and I even watched on YouTube like people playing it like it's like typical white guys. And here's I don't mean to make fun of white guys, but like when I watch these white guys playing Arma, like I can see it. Like they get serious. Like they feel like they're, you know, like contributing for their country. Like they feel like it's a simulator. Like you can see the excitement aura with them black shades and the trucker hat. They get with and the mustache and the skull. They get into that. These motherfuckers will they'll wear whole army fatigues playing a computer game. I'm in war. This type of shit. Like it's just like they don't make that shit for anybody else. That's for them. It's not for us. Like so like I tried to explain to my Russian friend, like, yeah, I am American and I did go to the military, but I don't have that connection on a personal, you know, vendetta because you hurt America. I mean, America does do some really good things, you know, and I always advocate. If the country does some amazing shit, I'll give them credit for that. But when it comes to like that personal thing, like, no, bro. I mean, okay. Like, I feel bad for families that were killed in terrorist attacks. I'm not gonna say I don't feel bad for them, but like in terms of like a country level thing, that's not mine. That's y'all's. Whatever, bro. But yeah, Freeman, maybe I'm out of touch. If feminists were legit, they would be advocating for women in Islamic other oppressed countries. Well, yeah. Yeah. And it was real funny when Ukraine made all the men stay and fight in war and they let all the women leave Ukraine and no feminist said a word. There was no more equality. None of that shit came out ever again. And just tried to pretend it didn't happen.
Have equal rights? What's the difference between a woman and a black person? It's just a
You see the woman?
What's the difference between a woman and a black person? It's just a matter of, no, you want equal rights as a human because you should have them. I should have them too, right? It was just a human rights movement. It was.
Look, no. Equal rights from her perspective and equal rights from that black woman whose head went down like that when he said that. Okay. White women's equal rights is being Melania Trump. Okay. Black women's equal rights is literally being allowed to sit in a restaurant and eat. Those are two completely different equal rights. Okay. This white woman is mad because she didn't get her part of the cut. And she got kicked out with them browns. And now she's mad because of that. You know, the rich whites don't want her. That's her equal rights.
Focused on the gender, and then we focused on the race, and we all came up. I don't know why everyone can't come up together.
Yeah, I feel like there's a huge misnomer on what feminism is. Feminism is not me telling you to go abort your firstborn son. I don't care what you do with your body. Feminism is you have the opportunity to do what you want because of, you have a bank card because of feminism, you get to wear pants because of feminism, you get to have a job because of feminism, you get to get out of the house if you want to because of feminism. This is not about like trying to control your life. There is more room for people who are anti-feminists in the world of feminists than there is for people like me in your world. I don't care if a person wants to go have children their whole life and that's what they want to do. Most of my friends are stay-at-home moms. Many of my extremely liberal friends are stay-at-home mothers. And do you think I denigrate their decision to sacrifice their life for their children? Absolutely not. I'm a mother myself. But I also want to have the opportunity to work if I want to, because for me, that's where I find happiness. There is space for you in our movement, but there is no space for us in yours. We're inclusive. Feminism is not telling you what to do with your life.
Yeah, you
Feminism
can have a
is
baby,
letting
you can get married, do
what
whatever
you
you
want
want
with your life.
Sorry. I agree, though. I agree. Do whatever you want with your life.
Feminism is letting you do what you want with your life.
Yeah, so here, Shayak, yeah, here's the thing. The problem with women is not necessarily the options. The problem with women is the manipulation, is manipulation and enabling women. Women do very poorly with responsibility. So when it comes to abortion, I don't have an issue with abortion either. What I have an issue with is women taking advantage of abortion, right? Now, so let's say like in a situation where like a woman is poor, this and that, and she is pregnant. 100%, I agree with abortion. Okay, 1,000%. Or let's say if a woman gets pregnant and she and she just knows she really doesn't want to be a mother because she's just not mentally ready, this and that. 100%. But then you have other women who will just like go to the club every week, get, you know, this and that, and just use that, you know, and just exploit the hell out of it and just abuse it. See, it's very rare you're going to find just like, usually when women have issues, it's going to be one extreme or the entire other. And it's you usually won't get a consistent sense of just regulation and chilling. It's always going to be one extreme or the entire. I give it a great example. Was a good example. With my ex-wife, right? She had us like her boy was like 1 when I was with her, right? And she would never cook. She would only feed him yogurt and milk. So he had hemorrhoids like from a very early age. It was funny but sad because he would hold his shit in literally for 4 days till he just couldn't hold it anymore, and just like it would just come out and it'd be blood in the diaper. I never changed it, but she would say it was blood in the diaper, right? Because she didn't feed him anything with fiber. So I would get on her about cooking. So when she finally started cooking, she started trying to make these full Thanksgiving dinners every goddamn dinner. I was like, okay, no, you don't have to make an entire Thanksgiving dinner. Just put some thought into what you're doing and make it work. You know, she went from, you know, feeding them milk and yogurt to coming home trying to cook for 3 hours straight every night kind of thing. They don't have a good sense of just like casual regulation. And, you know, and critical thinking and critical practical thinking. Most women will just not have, the vast majority, I would say, you're just not going to find that consistently. Now, some women think they do have it, but it doesn't last consistently. You might find a speck of it come out here or there. But for the most part, their lives are going to rely back into constant panic, poor management, inconsistent responsibilities. So it gets to the point where you just can't trust them with anything. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do it. It just gets to that point. She messes around and gets into a mood. And to hell with children's lives. To hell with everybody. She just got in a mood. And then guess what? Now you have to love her because she smiled and then she cried. Because if she loves somebody, then you have to love her. And then it turns into Steve Urkel emotional sabotage. And that's it. Here's the thing. I agree with Dave Chappelle. He said, I agree with abortion as long as I agree with if I stay around or not. You know, you can't have it both ways. But that's where actual equality comes in, and no woman wants that. So it's mean to say it.
Your life. And I don't want to tell you not to get married when you're 19 and pop out 7 kids if that's a thing that's going to be happy for you. But I want to offer people the opportunity that they can also do something else if that's what makes them happy.
So I did get a sense that someone on this side felt like this side was feeling or was speaking in a way that felt racist. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So when you said something about the difference between women and black people.
As far as human rights.
Can I speak or are you going to keep cutting me off?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, thank you. That's like one of my main issues with feminism is like even Susan B. Anthony, like she compared white women to the black man and she felt a way that black men got the right to vote before white women. And that's like also something that I don't agree with because white women think they're superior to black men, you know? Why do you need the right to vote before our men? That's the question I would ask.
I'm saying everyone should have it at the same time.
But why do you have to
about when it happened? I'm saying everyone is a human.
It was just,
doesn't
you just
matter your
throw it,
race or your
this is
gender.
the thing,
I feel like you should be able to live your life the way you want. That's the feminist movement.
But why did you have to
choice
bring
now.
up black people? That's what I'm trying
Because
to say.
it's a human
because you're
rights movement.
performative.
I'm
Yeah.
comparing.
You're performative, babe.
Okay,
You're
I'm
performative.
comparing human rights movements. Black people exist. Women exist.
You don't have to
I
speak
think
on it.
both of them
Don't speak on it.
should. Why? It's a human rights movement. That's what we're
It's
talking
not
about.
productive. I'm
It's
telling
not
you, I don't
productive
like
to talk
it.
about human rights movement and compare the two when they're just about equalizing things for people so that we can all come
I'm
up
letting
together.
you know that it's offensive. I'm telling you that it's offensive.
It's offensive for me to say
Yeah.
that women should have the same rights as black people.
Yep, it is.
It's offensive for me to say that all humans should have the same rights as everyone. That we should
That's
all
not
have the
what
same
you
rights.
said. There's a difference between everyone and
Literally
black
right
people.
now, I'm saying everyone. I don't give. Sorry, what your skin color is, what's between your legs. I don't care about any of that. I want everyone to be able to make the decisions they want for themselves and have the same rights. I don't want you to have any less rights than me. I don't want this guy to have any less rights than me or more. Everyone should be even. That's fucked up for me to say.
Okay,
Could I
good.
just ask I'm just curious what's racist about the statement that I want women to have the same rights as black people? I'm just, because you said that's racist. I'm just curious what's
Well,
racist
because
about
first of all, you guys classify women as second sex, right? You guys think women. This comes from the feminist movement. We look at women and we say, oh, we're treated as second-class citizens. We're treated less than men. And so it's a little bit dehumanizing to say, for one, you want to fight for women to have better rights, and then to look at black people, which isn't just black women, that's black men, our men, that we need to be, we expect our men to be strong, and for you to say, oh, well, women deserve the same rights, black people should get the same rights as women, there's this culture in black culture where our men are constantly emasculated, right? So I'm very, very my husband's a black man, so I'm very intentional about how we speak about our black men, and I don't like that.
I wasn't talking about just black men.
But you need to be mindful, okay? Since you're a liberal and that's what y'all are about, you need to be mindful.
I
And
didn't
that's
say
it.
anything racist.
That's it.
I didn't say anything like that at all. You're
But
trying
you
to
did.
misconstrue. Now you
not
are getting my twisted.
Thank you for, did she answer your question about what offended her?
now feel like and I'm not trying to be.
I know you're trying to actually understand
I genuinely
which
understand.
part of the conversation offended her, and I
You
think
didn't, it wasn't you. She said something.
No. I understand it wasn't me. I'm trying to understand. You said the statement, I want women to have the same rights as black people. I'm trying to understand what's racist about that.
I think
Because you wouldn't say that about a white man. When
It's the men part, I think, that got
Right.
added to.
You don't have to say women and black people and then not speak on like what about the black men? You know what I mean? Like I don't understand why you do that. Can someone speak to this? Like am I crazy?
Did anyone else, did any other ladies on the set feel that same way about that statement?
I think she's just kind of referring to like women should have the same rights as everybody. Why do you have to single out black people or black men?
The reason I see,
Black men
not
have
men,
the same rights
first off,
as
I didn't
everybody
say
right
men.
now.
The
And women
reason-
have the same rights as everyone. We're equal right now. So how far do feminism have to go before you guys see that we're equal?
But you want to, I'm not talking about you guys, because I don't know where you stand as far as anti-feminism, but there are people that are actively working to take our rights away, so that we are backsliding into time. That's why
As
I'm
far
here.
as like what, abortion?
That's
repealing the 19th.
getting rid of the women's right to vote.
The 19th is never going to be repealed. I think people are
Never say never. But she's right. I meant everyone should have the same rights. And I only brought up Black people because of the civil rights movement happening around the same time. These were human rights movements. We all tried to come up together, which I love, and I think we all should have the same rights. I don't think that's a...
Yeah, I
For
don't think you
now.
had ill intent. I don't think you had ill intent. I'm just like, we need to be careful about how we speak when we're bringing in Black people, because we're always constantly attaching every civil rights kind of movement to Black identity. Like we're always the LGBT, everything. It's always connected to Black people. And so I'm just like, no. That's what I'm saying is no. I don't think that you were trying to be like evil about it, but I'm just saying be careful, because y'all have a tendency to always group Black people into every single thing.
Yeah.
It's just not always the time to speak on it.
I have noticed that feminists, and myself included in this, tend to get uncomfortable with conversations about race. We don't know how to talk about race very well. And even just this whole debacle that just happened was just kind of like affirming of that, of like, we need to get better at it, because...
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Like, just don't bring it up.
Next prompt is, no career will give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. Okay. Oh, maybe someone who hasn't spoken. Go ahead.
I'm a Christian, so as much as you guys know all your statistics and everything about things, it's more that it conflicts with my Christian belief so much, right? So I believe that we're here to reproduce. That's one of the things in the Bible. The first thing about men and women is that they were brought together, and then it was to be fruitful and multiply. So I think one of the most valuable things we can do as women in society is to continue reproducing and grow up raise the next generation. So that's really important. And then I'm kind of seeing how this generation is being raised in a lot of single mother households and stuff. And so I really want to prioritize bringing back the nuclear family, men in the home.
Yeah, I strongly think it should be illegal for women to be entirely single mothers. I think that should be illegal. I think, well, statistically speaking, women are the worst person to raise a child, statistically speaking. So when it comes to that topic, was it no career will ever give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children? Women are destined to be miserable. So I think the biggest issue in the world with I think the biggest issue in the West with this is genuinely trying to please women, because no matter, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. No matter, a woman is always going to be miserable. She is not going to be happy until she's miserable. It's just how it is. You can sit up and do everything for a woman. She will, and she will just keep doing mental gymnastics until she's miserable again. And it's like women, they consistently chase this high of feeling good. They're just walking drug addicts. They're chasing a high of feeling good. That's it. And it's going to run out. So when it comes to no career will give a woman as much joy and fulfillment as raising children, that's about the best position that she can be in, that a woman can be in. Because here's the thing. As soon as you take a woman away from chaos, she wants chaos. As soon as you take a woman away from peace, now she wants peace. As soon as you take, like if women knew, here's the thing. If women knew how to genuinely have joy and fulfillment, they would do it. But they don't. If women genuinely knew how to do it, Don't you think by now women would have figured it out? I mean, just look at history and time. Do you think if women in general knew how to have fun and be genuinely happy and fun to hang out with, wouldn't they have figured it out after 300,000 years? Doesn't that seem like a good enough time, the time span to be able to tell? You can't let them do shit. They need having a child. I'm not saying every woman's going to be a good mother. I think so. To add to this statement, no career will give a woman as much joy and fulfillment as raising a child, with an asterisk next to it, while making sure a man is monitoring her while she's raising a child. That needs to be added in to maintain. Women bring, a woman can bring temporary joy. Now, the important part of it is not because it's anything that she intentionally did. It's just what she was biologically born as. If just literally just the sight of a woman can make guys happy, right? And that just don't be a bitch, and that's all she has to do to make a guy happy. That's it. Just don't break shit, fuck shit up. Just be a woman and just exist, and don't be a cunt. That's it. Right. The problems don't start until she intentionally tries to do something. That's when all the problems start. Temporary joy from ejaculation. Yeah. Women are good at bringing what men bring is consistency and stability. Women do not have any. Very few women can bring consistency, stability, and be likable all at the same time. Very few women can pull that off for any longer than a week at a time. Very few. They can genuinely pull all those three off at the same time. Consistency, stability, and be likable. Very few women can do all that consistently. So it's the man's job, if he feels the woman's worth it, to engineer her to actually be desirable for a consistent period of time.
Homes and us in traditional roles, and that's my belief.
So I said yes, but it's with a huge caveat, which is that both genders report greater life satisfaction when they have children. Like, children's good for everyone. And this idea that we're lumping it to women is part of my problem with this, right? So do women experience like greater life satisfaction? Yes, so do men. Except who do we expect to be home? Women. We're like penalizing men and women. For example, if a woman wants to have a career, it feels like your side is saying, well, that wouldn't be good. Okay, well, she's also going to get life satisfaction from her career. In fact, there's a lot of acute happiness that often comes attached to a career. And the issue is that, like, men and women should have the agency to choose both of these things because they should both have access to it, right? There isn't a reason why we should tell men, women have to stay home, you must stay at work, you won't get a relationship with your children. You get a relationship with your kids for 6 hours a day. I don't think that that's better, right? Speaking of the capitalism, I think if you look at models that have like 32-hour work weeks, you have greater happiness amongst men, women, and children because both parents are home with their children.
So
frankly,
I also want to add this
in,
because I was talking to this one girl about feminism, right? And they always have this argument, women don't earn as much as in that. And it is true in Czech Republic. It is true. Women don't earn as much, but they also don't factor in all the little things when in women's earning potential and taxes, right? So another basic mathematical equation is earning potential. So women are always going to marry up, no matter how much the woman earns. The woman's always going to marry up. So in reality, the earning potential is pretty much not even important, just off of basic woman biology, because she's always going to marry up if she can, right? Or else she ends up on the left side of this panel. Okay, now let's say men earn 30% more than women. That means men are paying a lot more in taxes that the women don't have to pay. So they're getting that for free. Right. Then you take countries like, in Europe and specifically Czech Republic. Well, like the girl I was talking to, she was working at some type of environment agency or something like that. Well, as soon as she got hired, as soon as she turned 18, well, she had literally $20,000 in the bank for maternity leave, just waiting for her to fuck and have and pump a baby out, and so she could sit at home. But she doesn't take any of that into account with earning. Now in America we don't have maternity leave, but over here they have maternity leave. So it's like, see, it's all these little areas that which is why feminism is going to have a far harder time ever being taken serious in Europe on a whole. Mostly because of that maternity leave. I would say that maternity leave money and all that. The women they're not trying to risk losing that. Now, American women they do have that argument. They don't have maternity leave in the U.S., but it's still that underlying theory. If it ever gets to a point where women consistently don't date and marry up, then they will start having more of an argument. It's women's nature that propels misogyny in the world. If women didn't chronically and consistently want to date up, if women did not chronically and consistently prefer men pay for food and pay for stuff and pick her up or come and initiate for dates or initiate conversation, if the women genuinely were to take on roles where they would have to lose some of the benefit of being woman, then they will probably start to be genuinely seen as equals. But until then, you never will be. It's never going to happen. You're still getting all that money plus more. You're just not getting convicted of it because there's no law book for women manipulation. You're getting your rent paid, your bills paid, free food for dates. A man plans where you got to go. He's paying the taxes that you're walking down the street on the roads on. You're getting all that money back. Don't mistake that, feminist. All that money that you think you're missing out on by being paid the 10% less 20%, you're getting that back times 5 at minimum on the low end. What you're mad about is you're mad because you didn't get you didn't get the size of cut that you thought you was gonna get out that deal, from the 1800s. That's what y'all are mad about. It has nothing to do with earning. Okay. All of that y'all getting back. You call the police, guess who's showing up? A bunch of men. That's who's showing up. And they got to come with guns because they might get shot and killed. Yes, you don't got to worry about your life. While you go to the nail salon. Yeah, so you want to make like Jordan Peterson said, if you want to make it equal, you got to make it equal all the way across the board, or else you won't be taken seriously. Period. I can't go into a boxing ring with Mike Tyson and say, oh, you can't hit me here, 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 or here. But we're equal boxers. We can fight equally now. That's not equality, bro. That's benefit. And until you can walk into that ring with Mike Tyson and be like, okay, yeah, you can punch me here, here, here. See, when black people hopped into that ring with Mike Tyson, they said, okay, hit me wherever you want. I just want to be seen as a human boxer. See, with that bitch with the pink hair, let's make that clear. See, when it comes to white women suffering and then black people on a whole suffering, see, white women go into the world and say, well, I don't want you to punch me here or here or here. But let's pretend we're equal. We're both equal, and I want the same pay as you for this boxing ring, for this boxing fight with Mike Tyson, right? But you can't hit me here. 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 But we're equal boxers. So let's go, Mike. And then after the boxing match, I want to be seen as we were equal fighters. Now, black and brown people, when they fought for equal rights, they wanted to just be able to walk into a boxing ring and let Mike Tyson knock me out. I just want to be seen as a human. See, that's where the bitch in the pink hair. See, this is where they lose all credibility. all credibility. When they try to compare white women to black people, that's a whole different beast. For those of you not in America, I get it, you probably don't really know. And that's another thing I've been meaning to talk about. With black people, right? I'm sure somebody's probably get mad at me for this. But I was really giving this some thought, right? This has nothing to do with the video. I'm done with the video because I'm going to get off here. It's going on 10. What's up, Ivy Bo? When it comes to the racism thing, I'm so interested about this because I was giving it thought, right? And I say like pretty much any place in Africa except South Africa. Or like any Caribbean area, anything like this, right? You know, it struck me that like, y'all really don't know racism for real. The reason I say that is, and because I really gave this thought a few months back, actually. I just kept forgetting to bring it up. I thought about why does that happen that like Jamaicans or Haitians or Nigerians or wherever the fuck, like they come to America or they go into the world and they genuinely believe that work ethic will get them over in America. Like they genuinely think their work ethic is what it, and I was really giving it thought where that could be coming from, you know. And I think I may have figured it out. I could still be wrong, but I think I may have figured it out. Because in those home countries, everybody's black. So they have no awareness on like interpersonal racism. They don't know it. You know, they can pick up maybe from like American movies or something like that, but they really don't know like African Americans or like black people in like Britain or like black people in Europe, like they genuinely know what it's like to be an actual minority. But like these countries that are just filled with like blacks or Indians or this, and I'm sure they got their own status situation, their own hierarchy, but they don't know what it's like. You know, they don't know what that genuine, well, Africa, I mean, India has the caste system out there, but so you can't really count India, but in that whole area out there, but like these areas that are mostly black, like they don't have, like they're not a minority. So I feel like that's why they would come to America and think that like African Americans are like shitty and this and that, blah, 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 blah. You know, because they never had because they have no experience living as an actual minority. So if I'm wrong, somebody educate me on it. But that was where like I just never really given it thought. But yeah, like in America, like if you're black, like you are a minority. But like if you live like in a country full of black people, you're not a minority. You're just another dude, right? So like you don't even know what racism is. I'm sure there's other hierarchy situations, like what kind of shoes you wear, some silly shit like that. But like that has to be hard. Like when you go to like, especially like a richer Westerner country, you know, and you're still operating off of being part of the majority, and you think it's about work ethic and, you know, and social statuses while being a part of the majority, then you go to like a country like America or like Britain where you're immediately the minority, right? And not a good minority, right? Because they're going to look down on you, right? Because it's different. Let's say like with the bitch with the pink hair, see, she can go to Africa or she can go to like Haiti and she's a white woman. So she'll never know what it's like to be looked down upon, you know, as a status symbol of worth. She'll forever be ignorant to that. And the whole cast on the left, I think, pretty much agree. Like they don't know how to talk about race because they'll be completely entirely ignorant to it. You know, either they're white women or the one on the far left. She is randomly an attractive woman, which is not common. But they'll never fully understand that in the world. But yeah. Funny thing about South Africa during the 80s, said it developed nuclear weapons during apartheid. Before the government became democratic and blacks were to take power, the government destroyed the nukes. Word up. Professional example, women. Oh, Serena Williams, I think it was Servenus Was it Venus? She admitted like she could not keep up with a male tennis player. I remember that. She clearly openly stated that. She said it's just a whole different game. I really think solve the problem would help repair race relations somewhat. The purposeful destruction of the family unit by Marxists has engendered increase. I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I read about, because the last one I read was Marx and Engels. I can't even remember much to even comment at the moment. I can't even remember, man. I can't even comment on that right now. It's been so long since I read that. But what I do remember loosely is that it's really just a product of its time. Like now, things are just growing so fast, and populations are just growing so fast relative to any other time in history. Things change as populations grow. Because if I remember, like I said, I could be off. Let me skim through some Karl Marx real fast. Because it's been so long. I remember really enjoying it, but I just don't remember much. Because I was always at the sociology library here in Prague. Switch that into English. Yeah. Here, let's just skim through Britannica real fast. Early years. Yeah, high school. Yeah, a lot of it was just for its time. It like some stuff will grow with time, but a lot of stuff it's just a different time right now. Populations, technology, all that shit. But I'm trying to find like a base. Yeah. So yeah, and Ed Engels. And I got a P too. Yeah, Industrial Revolution. Oh God, that communism situation was just a mess. Okay, and this is another reason why Karl Marx. I don't want to say too much because again, I just don't remember. I just can't remember much. But what I will say real fast is communism in this time was like, that was a social experiment that looked great on paper, but just did not work in reality. And Russia still suffers from it, from the leftovers of that shit. It completely fucks people. It completely fucks up their development. Wherever communism went, development is just always stagnated and fucked up. I hate to say that, but it's just true. Wherever that shit touches, they're just forever fucked up. But it looked good on paper. Exploitative labor, class where I mostly agree with, but a school of thought called Frankfurt Institute took it a whole new level. Yeah, because this is what happened, I think, in Spain and Russia. I can never pronounce that word because I've only seen it written. Proletariat. I've only read this word. I've never actually heard somebody say it out loud. But yeah, that's what, because that's what in Spain, I'm supposed to say that. I want to say that was Spain. They really tried to do that. It's always going to be a certain population that's going to be for shit like that. It's going to be the ones who just aren't going to have good options. Like, I think they even ask, like, Czech people now. Like, if you ask the older population of Czech Republic, like, a good amount of them want communism to come back so they can have a guaranteed job and a place to live. But it just really, like, it's just out of time, at least for now. Yeah, this was what I had, I think. I'm pretty sure I had that, but it was translated. Looks familiar. Yeah, this was so this was pretty much the whole gist of communism. That was the whole goal of it, because at the time Russia had been so, Europe had raped Russia so bad that, like, they technically didn't really rape them though. They Europe really didn't. Okay, in terms of, like, I was just telling my child's mother, we was talking about this, like, because we were eating in this restaurant and I told her, like, for real, like, I was talking to her about the reality, like, I'm not saying Russia's perfect. No country's perfect. Every country has shitty ways, good ways, whatever, right? But what I will say is this. The main reason why the world hates Russia, that is strictly Westerner and European pushing that shit, for two different reasons, but they're pushing that. Okay, because Europe has screwed over so many countries. The only country that Europe screwed over that was able to pull their shit together and actually call Europe out was Russia. No other country that Europe fucked over could ever get their shit together. Every other country that Europe touched literally just stayed degenerate forever. The only country that Europe touched that was actually able to unite and get their shit together was Russia. So a lot of that, like, anti-Russia stuff is purely like Europe trying to demonize Russia, because Russians know what Europe really did. And the thing is, a lot of Europeans really know, or they're just completely ignorant, one of the two. But yeah, that shit's wild, man. I was telling her in Bagatary Boulevard as we was eating. And I was telling her, like, I forget how we even got on that topic, but I ended up telling her, like, no, like, Europe deserves that shit, dude. Like, Russia that is nothing but revenge, and it's in good taste, in my opinion. Because, like I said, because here's the thing: if Africa could have got their shit, if Africa was in a position where it could unite, Africa would do the same thing, and they would be completely in the right for doing that. But Europeans know Africans can't do it, and Europeans actually engineered that shit. Europeans couldn't engineer it in Russia. So, like, for example, like, in Africa, like, the Europeans would go there and just, like, destroy, like, anything that the Africans built that was nice or beautiful. The Europeans would go there and destroy it, literally, so the Africans could not look around and see anything of importance that they built. So it would just lower their morale even more. Even if they started to get morale, it would just lower their morale. But they couldn't do that to Russia because they could never invade Russia. Like, Russia survived for, there was a lot of luck. Mostly it was because of terrain and the weather. But yeah, Russia was the only country that was ever able to get its shit together and call Europe out for what they did. And Europe doesn't like that. Europe's whole thing is, Europe's entire thing is it's feminine. It's reputation. It's looking like you're good and reputation. It's not actually merit. It's looking like you can produce good merit. Yeah. Let me get off here in a minute because I got to pee and it's just getting late. Wow. Continue from my last post, as Jamaicans and other black immigrants continue to be assimilated in the U.S., they eventually realize the country is racist. Yeah, it's sad too, man. I don't mean that to, like, make fun of them, but, like, it's sad. Simon Lewis. As someone whose background is Jamaican but is born in the U.S., some of these black nations face classism, not racism. Jamaica, for example, has issues, so that might explain the mindset. Yeah, it's really sad to see that that kind of thing. And I mean, like, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but like it's sad to see like they're just ill-equipped, and it's nothing they could have done. It's just nothing they could have done from any part of the world. It's just nothing they could have done to really to prepare themselves for especially American racism, because again it's a stronger, deeper racism, because like since the whole world speaks English, they have to mask it even better. Whereas like in Europe, they'll play the whole, yeah, we love everybody, you're a culture, and then go off and say some of the worst things in Czech because they figure you don't know how to speak Czech. So that they don't have to work as hard to mask it. They're like the rest of the world does not have to work as hard to mask their fucked up shit. Whereas Americans, they have to work harder at masking it. So it won't just come out like, some of it is just like the culture. Like it's a duty to be polite in America kind of thing. Like some of it is just the culture, but it's really sad to see brown people who were just part of the majority in their home country go to a place in the West, right? They just don't get it. You know what I mean? Like they can't. It's impossible. And as a black dude, like it's so weird because like everybody in the world knows that like black people are like the worst people kind of thing, and that's mostly through Western media. Well, it is through Western, not mostly. It is through Western media. So like they have the understanding that like black people are lower, but like they don't see themselves as African American black, right? and it's like it's so weird until something happens, and then they're just a black guy. Like, and nobody's gonna ask, are they from Jamaica? Nobody cares if you're from Jamaica. You're black. You know what I mean? Like it's colorism in America. It's that's rough, man. That's rough. What's up, Zuki? Western Europe is cooked. They're collapsing along. To be fair, man, like Europe deserves it. Europe, okay, anyone in their right mind can't disagree with that. Europe deserves the immigrant crisis and all that. I've seen it on the news at least, and I can't look. Everything is zero sum theory, man. See, just as quick as you see, and here's the thing. I think now, like in my tangent about Steve Urkel being a horrible person, I think Europe is a horrible continent in this context, because these motherfuckers know where fast fashion comes from. Okay. Now, Americans genuinely don't know where these places are. You see, and I've said this a while back, but Europeans, like, they know. You know what I mean? Like they know. Or like how I've seen how like Russia was like Russians were tricking African men into going and fighting in the Ukrainian war, and by saying they're going to pay them all this much money and all this stuff like that, they were getting Africans to go fight in the wars. Like these motherfuckers, like America's racist and it's fucked up, but like the rest of the world is like so much more racist, dude. Like to unbelievable levels. Like I said, the only thing is nobody else, like Americans don't know the other languages, so Americans just don't know. But like, and that's kind of like why I'm tired of being over here, is because you pretty much have to rely on them knowing you're American before they'll even look at you like you're a human. You know what I mean? You pretty much have to do that, like because they're just they're just mentally fucked up. Like where most of the rest of the world, not everybody, because I just got a new student today. He was a real cool, real good guy. He was in Slovakia. He was a new student I had today. but like the overcast of like the country is like they're just like very like the rest, like people don't really realize how poor the rest of the world is. And when I say poor, I don't necessarily mean like living in huts, but I mean like the ability for them to genuinely travel and see things. Because you got to remember, like, okay, America is one big country, right? Whereas like Europe, they have like, you know, most other places, you just go to like one state to the next state and it's an entirely different culture, right? But they don't even get enough, they don't become cultured enough just in that, you know, in a 200-mile radius. They have no sense of culture of like accepting each other. Like they still fight with each other. Like the rest of the world is like a bunch of fucking teenagers, dude. Like they're teenagers growing up in a neighborhood. Like that's like literally the rest of the world is like that shit. You know what I mean? Like America is like pretty much the only place that I know of that is that massive and has that many people spread out through the whole thing where we're all still American. Now we of course have racial issues in America, but in the context of being cultured by somebody who's just literally 40 miles that way, America kills the rest of the world. And as far as I know, it kills the rest of the world in this shit. It completely annihilates them. They can't even compete. Can't even speak the same language. Somebody, if I'm in Ohio, these motherfuckers can't communicate with somebody who's in Kentucky. They can't speak, they don't speak Kentuckian from Ohio. Right? So that brings its all like issues. Everyone gets along. It's more about character than anything else. Word up. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. It's late. I gotta eat. It's 10. Yo, thanks for everybody tuned in. Like, subscribe. Thanks for the donation, man. I appreciate it. I'll catch y'all later, man. Peace out.